All right. Well, it's time to get started. Um, Thank you, everybody, for joining. I'm Logan Harris, founder and CEO of Spotter, um, some, previously known as Spotter RF. And today, I'm excited to be able to welcome Richard Faught from Orion, who's going to be joining us. And we're here to kind of talk about security problems and security solutions. And very glad to be partnering with Orion. So I'll give you a chance. Richard, why don't you kind of introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, I'm Richard Faught. I'm the Vice President of Sales for Orion Security Solutions, and we've been working with Spotter RF for several years with their radar solutions, and looking forward to working through this with everybody today. Thanks for the invite, Logan.
You're welcome. And so to kind of get this started, we obviously there's been a lot of news as of late of different type of perimeter breaches. One in the U.S. that's kind of highlighted is what happened at the Denver airport just recently, where someone jumped the fence, walked onto the runway, active runway, was struck by a plane, and besides that, there's lots of other types of security concerns. Now drones are becoming a big thing, and drone incursions into sensitive airspace, not only around airports, but critical infrastructure, of course, war zones. And so we're going to talk about kind of Orion's approach and how, Spotter as a technology partner helps support those. So Richard, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. Let me share my screen. Logan, let me know when you can see my screen. Just want to make sure.
You're up and good.
Okay, great. Like I previously stated, Richard Faught with Orion Security Solutions. We were founded in 2008, based out of HQ here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. We are a privately held company. Our motto is to deter, detect, and defend against any threats. Our core competencies as an integrator are access control, video surveillance, intrusion, intercom, and then, of course, specialty systems like Spotter RF. We specialize in layered security. So our approach is a solution sales approach. We want to understand the risk that the client is undertaking or having, and we want to make sure we put together customized solutions to mitigate that risk. And we'll go through some of that today. We pride ourselves on providing elite install and service for our clients. We just want to make sure that we are our customers' best service provider, and that we keep them in the forefront of our thoughts, trying to understand their risk and deliver elite service. We've done business in 37 states, like I said, HQ in Oklahoma City, but done business in 37 states and 6 countries. So we're primed and ready to go anywhere we need to go to deploy solutions. So getting into a little bit about the technology and our experience. So we utilize a radar solution, a Spotter RF radar solution for early threat detection. So this could be a perimeter of a facility or perimeter of a large acreage. It could be a perimeter of an airport, all the way to monitoring and maintaining the inside of a perimeter as well with radars. So the radar technology can be calibrated to detect people, vehicles, any other asset that you deem as a threat. And with the new technology that Spotter RF has come out with, the custom analytics with their radar, we can really get extremely granular in what we're able to detect. So typically we take those threats and then we partner that up with a video surveillance solution. So we utilize visible PTZ cameras or fixed cameras to be able to start now tracking those zones that were initiated by the radar solution, and focus in on that zone and look for the threat to understand, is it a person or a vehicle or something that we're actually looking for, or is it something, some kind of noise that we want to filter out? And so now we're able to filter out all that noise and ensure that the alarms and alerts that are coming in are actual threats and something that you want to start tracking and start a process on. So that
Can I
that
make a
also,
comment on that,
go
Richard?
ahead, yeah.
And I mean, I think anybody that's been in the security business understands that, there isn't any, security system that has zero false alarms. But, over the last few years, with the kind of, the rapid explosion of video analytics and really good video AI, that has really kind of changed the nature of what's able to do. So we're seeing some really great things coming from that direction. And I think Orion is leading the forefront on a number of different ways to apply that.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you for that addition. So yeah, I mean, so speaking of that, so not only are we able to now that we have visible detection on the threat, now we can bring in other analytics and custom analytics like uh, weapon detection, facial recognition, license plate recognition. So now we can drill it all the way down into determining what that threat is and document that threat for future use. So bringing all that into that, now we bring all that into what we call like a secure operations center or a SOC or a CSOC, where now we can set predefined path of what an operator is supposed to do once they get this threat risk item identified. So we utilize the video surveillance platform for most of this, where there's a predefined process of whatever that threat comes in, there's a predefined process on what they're supposed to follow to be able to start documenting that threat and build a case around what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to react, and what they're supposed to document. So that's a very high level of how we integrate all of the technologies to be able to deter, detect, and defend against any threat that you guys have out there in the market or that you're dealing with trying to put together solutions to mitigate risk. So I know that Logan has a lot of stuff that he wants to go through with the demo. I know that we want this to be interactive. So if you guys have questions, please put them in the chat. I know that we're monitoring the chat for questions, but let's please keep this open and interactive as much as possible. And I'll pass this back over to Logan.
All right. Yeah. And I'll go into some of the details here of like how Spotter helps to be a part of that system. And there's a couple different layers. So let me bring up a good diagram so you know kind of what we're talking about here. Share my screen. All right. Is my screen up? You can see it okay?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. So so Spotter has a pretty, full technology stack. In fact, I think it's the industry leading in terms of this kind of beyond the fence detection, identification, response type technology. From the very beginning, we started out in the situation where we were called on by DARPA and and SOCOM to help protect soldiers, small groups of soldiers that were going out on these village stability operations. And one of the things that they needed to do, and in this type of situation, if somebody's already on your fence line, it's too late. Somebody's at risk already. So they needed to see far beyond. And at that time, the whole thing about a compact radar didn't exist. This was 2007, 2008. Because I'd originally got into doing, small radar for imaging radar that goes onto small drones. And then after DARPA came to us with this type of problem, developed this little radar here. This is the the C550 extended. Back in the day, we called it M600. 1,000-meter range on a person, so 3,000 feet with a 90-degree field of view, so about 140 acres of coverage, radar coverage in that one little box that takes 14 watts of power. So that was pretty revolutionary. And what we did with that is saying, okay, well, now you can track, you can get precise GPS coordinates of where the targets are, and then you can start doing stuff about it. And it's really about warning, alarming, and responding that detect, and deter detect, identify, and deter prior to the fence line.
Yeah.
If you're at the fence line, it might be too late.
Yeah. Do you mind if I jump in on that,
Okay.
on some of the things that we've done? So, yeah, our standard practice is to identify approach zones, and we utilize integrated technology where on the approach zone we might do a siren strobe with a orange beacon and a pre-recorded message. And then when they get into a secondary level 2 approach zone, then we might do a red flash with another pre-recorded message. And then when they get closer to the fence, it might be level 3, where it's a higher pitched or faster flash. And then we can utilize talk down on the perimeter from the SOC, where we're basically identifying the threat or the person and telling them, hey, we see you, we're deploying police or security. We want you to know that this isn't just pre-recorded messages, and we are on our way. So that's something that we've done a lot in the past, and things that have come up with the approach zones, and utilizing your technology to be able to see further beyond the perimeter. So great point.
Well, here's a live example. We got a vehicle coming in here through this zone. So like what you were saying, Richard, we can set up these zones and then actions within those zones to do different things. Or just kind of go into the detail a little bit here. This is our networked IO. This is our site level C2 software that collects the data from the different sensors, and then processes that data, cues the camera to target, and then allows, like Richard was saying, to say do something about it. And that's where in this zone here, we've got this zone around the side of our building. This is our office here, and we have a number of actions that we can create based off of these different filter rules. We can say, if it's after hours, what time of the day, where it's at. And then we can do things like cue the camera on target, flash the zone, classify. Basically, it says we alarm on it. We tag this as something that it's a alarm case. And then we can do other things like Richard, what you're talking about, triggering. I don't have one on. Let me show how to do that. I would put in, because we can do, contact closures. So if you want to turn on the sirens, the beacons, the lights, and things like that, we can interface with a web relay. And then let's see, I think it goes through the script here. And we can put this on and say, okay, now we can trigger all these different events, and including one of these web relay systems, which is on-VIF motion events. That's also a good one as well. And if we trigger into a virtual input into a camera. So this allows us to add all these different actions. Then that will allow then to trigger a camera. Well, not just to trigger a camera, but trigger these other actions, such as sounding alarms and things like that. That was a little deviation there, but so going back to, let me go back to kind of the little bit of the system diagram, so you kind of have context with what the technology is and how it all fits together. At the base layer, the first layer is the sensors. We have a variety of different radars for different applications. We have these small radars like this. This is a C40. up to 600-meter range on a walking person, weighs 1.5 pounds, so you can put it on an existing infrastructure. It was typically made for, kind of more of these wider open spaces. We also have another family. It's 24 gigahertz unlicensed, kind of a max range on about 200 meters on a walking person, 450 meters on a vehicle, and those are more for more smaller cluttered environments, meaning with parking lots or looking inside of a substation. And then we have drone sensors that includes the remote drone ID that you can see over here that picks up the broadcast signal from off-the-shelf drones, tells you where the operator is, as well as it is a drone with 0 false alarms, and then counter drone radars as well. Then it goes up into the next layer, which is the sensor management or C2 software layer. We call that software or appliances networked IO. And we have either small small embedded servers that go out into the cabinets in the field, or sometimes we'll have it in on a server running inside of a virtual machine. Lots of different ways that we could deploy that. The next layer after that, and that layer does the alarming. It processes all the sensor input. It now has video AI built into it as well. Like, let me pull this up. I was just showing that to you earlier. Here's another one. See if we can get the camera. Oh, just lost him. So this one right here is out overlooking a park area. This is one radar with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 600 meter range. So that's a C40. We're only covering up to about 300 meters, but you think about it, this is about a 10-acre park that we're covering with one radar on one camera. And that's where the power comes from, the combination of radar with the wide area surveillance, being able to cue the cameras on target, and then using a variety of different video analytics to determine, okay, yeah, is this a target of interest? Okay, so back to the next layer above that is the integrated management center. And the integrated management center brings all the data together so that you can have full situational awareness of what's happening around you. So I guess, should we talk about the Denver airport case? Should we address that one?
Sure.
So in the news, you probably have seen there was the, let's go over to the IMC level here. There was an individual who, came up to the airport, jumped the fence, walked out onto a runway, and just recently they reported that there was that an intrusion alarm was created, but there was also a herd of deer that was outside of the perimeter fence as well. And so it got going back and forth, or just distracting the system from what the real threat was, or the real potential risks were. So we were talking about how to solve that. And one of the things that we can do now that we have ability to use video analytics in addition to the radar AI, and the radar AI will get you about 98%, but still with deer in particular, it's hard for the radar to differentiate between a group of deer, and a person or a group of people. But with video AI, that's quite a bit easier. So I'm going to show you an example of that. I'm going to go over here at our integrated management center level. And instead of looking at drones, I'm going to look at people. And I'm going to look at everything here. So I'm going to apply that. And I'm looking at I'm just looking at the people that are, or deer. So I can see here, yeah, seeing some deer. I can pop into that. I can see here the tracks that they were taking here at office. This was over the last couple days here. I can either click here to select the track, and once I select that track, I can pull it up here into the video management center here. So I'm going to pop into this one and take a closer look. And there's my deer walking along. And in the past, I'm going to put a little favorite on that one. In the past, this would be with radar alone. Like I said, you'd be able to filter out some of them, but not all of them. And with the video AI, we're able to further decrease the false alarm rate by an additional, well, at least 85% reduction is what we're seeing. In some cases, even more. So let me pop out of that one. So how would I use this to like solve a problem where we're seeing both deer and people, and we don't want to, focus our camera on that? That's where we'd go over into the networked IO. So the next layer down is, okay, this is the networked IO layer. And in here, this is where you see we have these red circles. These are radar coverage areas. Most of these are all CK radars or GK. These are, the small ones operating at 24 gigahertz, unlicensed. This is in a way a relatively small environment compared to many of our, critical infrastructure sites. So we'd use something appropriate to the size. And now I want to set up something where once I identify that the target is a deer, I don't want to have my cameras or anything be able to be directed against them. So how would I solve that problem? First of all, I would set up a filter, and here's all the different filters here. So I've set up a filter called DAI animal. And it basically says if the video analytics that's built into networked IO says with a confidence level of 65%, then this is true. So I say, okay, now I've got something. The radar system is going to automatically queue it onto target using some basic camera filters. And I'll show you that one under my defaults here. It is under here. So this is the filter set that cues cameras onto target. So it says, okay, it's got to be this one. I'm using it for ground radars. It has to be a duration of greater than 2 seconds, displacement of 3 seconds, which means it needs to move more than 3 meters, and from a ground radar. Now I added something new, which was this intent equals neutral. So once I have the camera and target, and if the video AI says that it is an animal, I'm going to classify it as a neutral, so it's not a threat anymore. So that's my second step here, is I have to go into my zones. So I'm going to go into this zone over here, and I set up a classification. I set up a classification action where it says, okay, in this classification action, I'm going to say it's a medium animal, and the intent is neutral, because animals aren't bad or good. They're not typically, well, unless we're talking about polar bears here, but at least with deer around here, animals are pretty neutral. So we're going to classify it as a neutral. So now that I've set up a classification action and a filter, then I assign this into a zone and to a particular set of actions. So I say, okay, I'm going to classify here the animal classification, and the video AI filter says, okay, so when the video AI says that it's an animal, I'm going to classify it as neutral. And now the camera, once that's true, because of this filter right here, the camera will no longer cue on animals. I know I went through a whole lot there. Any questions? Richard?
You could, just to confirm, you could create different zones where if an animal was in a certain zone, it's not neutral anymore. It could be a higher level threat, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you
Yeah.
just you create another classification action. Says, okay, medium animal and hostile or unknown, depending on what level you want to give it. Because, like, for instance, say it's an airport,
Yep.
and you're tracking animals on the runway, or even close to the runway, and you would say, I want to make that a red alert, hostile, and then you would just say in that zone, use this classification action to tag that as hostile. So yes, you have all that type of flexibility.
Correct. Just want to confirm that for
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah. Good question. Please, any of those questions for you that are attending, don't hesitate to pitch in and ask any of those questions you might have.
Yeah, throw some scenarios out there in the chat or whatever you want to hear about for real. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that's one way we would handle a situation where you have animals and people potentially in the same area, and you want to deallocate resources away from the animals and towards the people. I guess, Richard, do you have another scenario that we should address?
So we've dealt with individuals that it's okay for individuals to be in an area, but if they're getting near a water feature or loitering too long in an area, we're notifying at that point. So if you have a walking track or a water feature where it's okay for people to walk around the walking track, but if they start approaching the water feature or if they're loitering within the water feature in the walking path too long, maybe we want an alert then, right? So I just want to be clear that it's very granular all the way down to a few meters of accuracy that I've seen here just in the last month in testing the new analytics that you guys have rolled out, that we're able to get a lot more granular on location of people or threats and be able to detect a few meters of where someone's at and that they're approaching a zone that you don't want them to be in, or if they're loitering too long, we can notify them as well. After the video verification, of course.
Yeah, and I've got an example just like that. So at this park that's over here, we set up a keep out area in the middle. And if people are walking around the track, we don't alarm. But if they walk into that area, then we do alarm. And it's the same thing right here. You can see it happening in live. This is live right now, where we got a couple of people that are walking down the track. You can see the video AI is identified that they are people. You can see that, yeah, it's tracking pretty good here in terms of the precision. We're always trying to improve precision, of course. And in the middle, we've defined an alarm area. And if they cross into that alarm area, then we generate alarm. Otherwise, we don't. And we get, we got hundreds of people that go around this track on every day. So to see that, and I'll go back kind of like historical, we can see just in the last little while, we have these, this is the, by the way, this is the top level view for the Integrated Management Center, the IMC, which is the full system map view. You can see we got 4 different sites that we're monitoring simultaneously. These are real-time alarm notifications. So this is when something happens, it immediately alarms. That's new in IMC 2 and above. In the past, IMC was just historical. Now we've added a real-time alarming capability into it, both on track alarms, like security event alarms, as well as health alarms. So as soon as it happens, it pops up. So I can see here, I've got 9 security events that happened at this site. So I can bring up my notifications and I can see, oh yeah, let's take a look here. I can click on to this track card. Now you can see chips, what I call chips, are very small, thumbnails, another way to refer to it. And we can see, yep, there it was, this, this lawnmower. Obviously, it's not too much of a threat at this point, but it, to illustrate the point is that it crossed over into that zone, which triggered the alarm, and then we cued the camera onto target, which then used the video analytics to help identify, okay, yeah, there was a person. We can see right here that we've got 90% confidence level. Here's all the stats with it. If we look at our video AI confidence level right up here, well, this one didn't run, but we can see all the information right here. And that way we can only alarm, it's kind of like an invisible field, this electromagnetic field that we do with the radar. And whenever it passes into that area, since we can measure precise position, you don't have to be like, wondering, okay, did they really cross in? Is it, something that I really care about or not? And that's one of the things that's really helpful about radar, is because we know position versus with video. With video alone, you don't know how far away it is. It's very hard to know if it's in the right location or not. But that's what you can do with that. And you can see, okay, there's all the different alarms here. Let's go take a look at the other one. This was at night, or well, not too late at night. Well, this was 11 a.m. here. You see the person walking over into the area. And that way it makes it, pretty simple for the security system to only alarm and alert the operator on what they want to see. Richard, are you still on with us?
I am. It was glitching, so I turned off my camera. I apologize.
Any comments on that one?
Yeah, I'll just reiterate with the new technology you guys have out that the detection accuracy is way better, and we're really able to fine tune the radars and the accuracy. And we're testing one currently. It's within I'd say within a 5-meter accuracy area, and we're getting really good results with that. So just reiterate the heightened accuracy of your new radars and new technology with the analytics.
Yeah, and with that's, I think that's Spotter firmware version 6.2 that you're testing.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. There's been some significant advancements on that. You can see here as they're crossing across back and forth across that area. So we can see, we can mouse over and see, okay, yeah, this is this particular alarm here, and drill into it again. This is where, if you're thinking about those different areas around your sites where you can program different responses. We've got a question, I think. Let's see here. Oh,
Yeah, it looked like
Which is
somebody
somewhat,
needed to drop. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so let's, what about a different scenario that you can think of, Richard?
We've got somebody just, Casey Turner just put something in the chat. So says, what if you had a vehicle driving by in a zone that was set to be okay for vehicles, but not for people, but a person hopped out of said vehicle? Would the alarm be set off at that point if configured for it? So basically, if someone was driving, it's not alerting on the vehicle, but if they jumped out of the vehicle, would it detect a person?
Yes, it definitely would. The thing would have to be careful about um, is not false alarming on, and this is where we'd have to kind of probably tune the confidence level on the video AI, um, because if it sees the person in the vehicle, it can classify it as a person as well. If it sees a person inside the vehicle, but we could, we could do uh, we could do a filter because we can do filters based off of speed. And so if it's going at a slow speed and the video AI identifies it as a person, then we could alarm. So and it's pretty simple to do that. I'll show you an example here of how to do that. Let's create a new filter. Um, let's call it person stopping. And I would say, okay, I would first of all, I'd look at let's use my video AI class. First of all, I'd say, okay, it's got to have a confidence level. I want to say fairly high confidence level. So let's say 70% confidence level. And then the next thing I would do, oh, where did I, sorry, I dropped it down over here. Next thing I would do is say add something where I look at speed. So I want to say the speed is slow. So if it's a vehicle, it's going to be going faster. So let's say instead of greater than, I'm going to say less than, and it has to be less than, say 3 miles per hour, unless somebody's, jogging, right? But that's something like that. Now I can use this filter group to trigger the alarm action. So it'll see that, okay, one, it has to see the person and it has to be moving slow. Looks like we got another question.
Yep. Yep. So the next question is, what is the recommended mounting height?
And it somewhat depends on the radar, but I kind of give you some of the general, things to keep in mind. Um, the the 24 gigahertz radars, they have a bit narrower vertical field of view, 15 degrees vertical, kind of like a big kind of narrow ellipse on the vertical side, and then a wide horizontal ellipse for the horizontal coverage. And so generally speaking, we're mounting those at, between 12 and, about 17 feet is kind of in general.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can do some different situations, like if you're on a slope, you might want to, tilt it down to look down that slope, and you can put it on the lower, kind of on a lower side, or you can put it up higher. But then when you look down, you have to look at that coverage area, and if you're looking steep down, then that's going to reduce the amount of coverage area that you have.
Yeah.
Have
That's what
you
we're
had your
seeing as
experience on
well.
that, Richard?
Yeah. We're average, we're mounting heights about anywhere between 12 and 15 feet, 12 and 16 feet for normal radar. But I would agree with what you said. It depends on the radar that you're mounting, and it depends on what you're trying to detect. So for perimeter, if you're using a CK, 20, CK or C40, you might mount that 12 to 15 feet and be able to get a great view down a perimeter line. But we have an instance where we're trying to track like parking spots or get a little more granular. So you're going to mount it a little higher from 20 to 24 feet and angle it really far down so that you can really get granular on the accuracy of the radar. So just to answer that is it depends on the radar you're using and what you're trying to detect. But there are
And that's
standards.
that's where, Orion and our service group comes in to assist in the design. And because there are some of these considerations as you're trying to, do a design, to look at the site and find the optimal parameters or the optimal mounting heights and locations and things of that nature. Because there are things that you need to take into consideration, like for instance, you don't necessarily, want to put like our counter drone radar. So we just released. This is a new radar. Let's see if I can spotlight this one. Um, this one right here is the GX 500 3D radar system, and it can pick up ground targets and air targets. It has a 90-degree vertical field of view. But you don't want to see a really busy, ground area. So like, for instance, doing a design for a stadium, I was showing in how we need to put it down, low to the stadium roof, looking up into the air, and put it in a position where we're not seeing the ground. So we're not seeing all the people moving around on the ground, because that's not the target that they're interested in. And there's, lots of people, going around a stadium. So instead, we would put it on top of the roof, kind of low down, and looking up into the air.
We have one more question in the Q&A section. Next question is, how do we get all updates and enhancements to install on the current system? So I assume they're talking about updates on the radars and updates on the NEO.
Okay. Yeah. So, one is if you have our radar system or our NEO, and if you've purchased it within the last three years, it's covered under warranty, and as part of the warranty is you get the firmware upgrades. Now, there is an additional licensing for the video AI, and that's where Orion could help with getting you a quote on what that would cost. We do also sell, extended warranties and like firmware support and service agreements as well. So that's another way that you can get it. But we want to make it as as easy and as flexible as possible.
Yep, and Orion, we offer a sustainment program. It's called System Sustainment Plan, and we do either annual or 2 annual trips a year to update firmware on all the radars, update the version on the NEO, ensure accuracy of all the radars, ensure accuracy and hardening of all the cameras. So I definitely recommend some kind of sustainment plan on any security system that you guys are going to deploy.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, things shift over time. Plants grow. The seasons change. I think, Richard is making a very good point. Is that if you want to maintain, it's kind of like, in a way, kind of like a vehicle. You need to bring it in for maintenance on a regular basis. We're not talking about changing oil, but we are talking about making sure that the system is continued to be optimized properly, and optimization is a critical step. It's one of the things that we have really been emphasizing in the last few years, is that to achieve low false alarm rates, kind of an optimization step occurring on a once a year at least basis is really necessary. Because like I said, things do shift, trees grow, bushes grow, the environment changes, and you'll have to make some some changes to adapt to the kind of the environmental characteristics that you see.
Agreed.
All right. Some of the, I guess, maybe we can talk about the scenario about drones. We haven't talked about that one. Should we go into the drone side?
Yeah, I think that's a good topic that's coming up a lot in a lot of conversations that we're having here recently. So I think that's a great topic to transition into.
Okay.
Really quick,
So
we have 2 questions in the Q&A section.
I think
One, you covered those?
We addressed
Yeah.
one. There is a new one. It says, I may have missed it, but support and equipment. But what support and equipment does Orion provide? So I can take that one.
Yeah.
So, as a security integrator, we leverage all types of technologies in the market to put together a solution package for the customer. So we leverage the Spotter RF radar and a video surveillance platform and video surveillance cameras and do custom analytics and custom programming to integrate everything together to give you, cut alarms and alerts to be able to detect and deter. So I would just say we deliver everything from the product to installation to programming to testing to calibration and then to training you as the end user on how to manage your system and be self-sufficient all the way through training your staff on how to navigate the system, how to build custom alerts. And then obviously, like I said earlier, we also provide a system sustainment plan to come out and keep the security of your security system and keep it updated on firmware hardening and make sure that the accuracy of everything that we set up continues that way. So definitely reach out to me if you have any further questions about what we offer or if we can put together some type of solution or proposal or design for you. So thank you.
Okay, good. So airspace monitoring, that's the next big thing. It is. Now we used to just have to worry about what's on the ground. Now we have to worry about what's in the air and over the water. One of the new things we're adding in Neo 6.2 that's going to release at the end of May. Hopefully, we're on the. This is 6.2. What I'm showing is we have an ADS-B internet service as an option. I just turned it on to track here a 30-kilometer space. I can go up to 50 kilometers out in terms of situational awareness, and it connects to the ADS-B network, and it is a service, so it is a recurring thing, even though we do sell like a 10-year license if you want. And so with that airspace monitoring, we can see where all of the commercial aircraft are flying, and some really interesting things are happening there. The other thing that we can do is with the remote drone ID sensor, and that's this one. That's this one right here. This remote drone ID sensor. This picks up the broadcasts from the commercial off-the-shelf drones of both Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, like so the DJIs, the Holy Stone, Skydio, Autel, all those kind of things that you can just buy. We can pick that up as well. And with our radar, we can pick up and you can see here, we're tracking both aircraft and people going around the building here. And so that this way we can give you kind of full situational awareness and set up alarms if there's coming anything into your airspace. So what I did here is I set up an airspace monitoring zone. Let's go to that right here. So this is my airspace monitoring for tracking. I set up a bigger zone for if there's aircraft that are less than 1,600 meters, we're at 1,478 meters altitude. So if there's aircraft, there's less than 1,600 meters, they're going low enough to potentially hit drones. And so I wanted to alarm on that. Very interesting things happened when we started doing that. And I want to go to, I want to show you this because it's pretty amazing. So I'm going to switch over to, I'm going to go back up to the top level map here. And I want to say, I'm going to go into the system tracks here. And instead of looking at animals, I'm going to look at aircraft. And let's look at aircraft. I also want to look at the ones that I triggered on. So not all aircraft, but so I'm going to say the intent here is unknown. So that's my trigger signal, is that I use the classify it as unknown. If it comes into a zone and it needs to be evaluated or paid attention to, we classify it as unknown. That's how kind of we define alarm or hostile. So I'm going to just look at all of those. So I'm going to apply my filters on that and see, see what we can see. Here we go. That's what's going on over our building. We happen to be right here. This is our office right there. For some reason, maybe because we're kind of by this, the opening to this this canyon here, but we're like, our building is kind of like a nexus for these low-flying helicopters and aircraft. Didn't know this. Lived here, worked here for the last 15 years, and didn't know that. And now we can see this pattern of, okay, well, this is what the aircraft are doing. And some really strange things are starting to come out here. And let's go to, this is just in the last week. You can see we had some helicopters flying around. We queued, this all happened automatically. Queued the cameras on target as this this Bell helicopter. It looks like it's an Airbus helicopter. You can see that we've got the tail number off of it. That's part of the ADSB. We queued the camera on target, and we can see that it was coming over our building and going up the canyon. If we look, we can see that there was a number of these flights over. This is a different Airbus helicopter that flew over with the tail number 01BF. A Robinson helicopter flew over here. So a lot of interesting traffic. Got some Cessnas. But what happened a little bit earlier was particularly curious. And you can see here we had a lot of traffic going over this last week. And right over here by our building is a water treatment plant. This is a water utility for treating. These are water storage tanks here. And we had a couple of Black Hawk helicopters come and fly over and land at the water utility plant. Why? I can't tell you. But you can see we had both thermal and optical imagery here. This is, I want to shrink down the map. No, let's make this bigger, shrink this down. There you go. So we had the thermal camera queuing it. We had both optical cameras and thermal cameras queuing on these Black Hawk helicopters. And so one afternoon here at 1:30 p.m., two Black Hawk helicopters came and landed at the water utility plant within minutes of each other.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time it's just this little noise you hear over the head. You don't really pay much attention to it. But now, now that you can see the patterns, you can see what it's doing, where it's going. It's quite interesting. Now we can also see the drones. So let's turn on drones.
Yeah, this is a question that we're getting a lot more from a lot of customers and clients is, what technology can we utilize to detect drones? Can we get the identification information so we know where the pilot is, where they're located? And then of course follow-up questions always as to what can they do with the data, what can they do, with the information.
And that's a really good question, because with both with our radar system and with the remote drone ID, you can pick up the drone itself. But with the remote drone ID, it has the advantage of that you can also pick up the operator's location.
Yeah.
Let me pull an example over here that I can show you here. So this is a different site that we have that has a remote drone ID, and you can see here, let's zoom in. You can see this is the location. Let me blow this up a little bit so you can see the tracks a little bit larger. There you go. So we can see the serial number of the operator, but we can also see the operator's location. And it's 100% legal. It's like, everybody has to drive around with a license plate. That's the same thing with a drone. You have
Correct.
to, you have to have this. This is, if you're anything above like a half a pound size drone. So like a DJI Mini, if it's less than 249 grams, it doesn't have to broadcast. But even if they put a little bit bigger battery, it'll start to broadcast. So anything above 249 grams has to legally broadcast its location as well as the operator's location. And it's legal for anyone to pick that up and see that information. Now, what you can do about it, is one, is if you can find the pilot, you stop the drone. So now you can send, the security guards, the police, out to intercept that operator. And let's see, do we put in this one? No, not quite yet. Let me bring up over on this one here. So let's go back. Let me look at history.
Logan, I know we only got a few minutes left, just to give you a heads up.
Oh yeah, got 2 minutes left.
Yeah,
thanks. So one of the things I was just about to say is that we can actually provide you a link, because we have the GPS location of where the operator's at. We have a link inside that'll take you to Google Maps and then give you directions to the operator.
to share the data with law enforcement or a guard or someone.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yep. Yeah. So that you can do. Mitigation is coming. Obviously, and I'll pull back over into live here so you can see stuff as it's happening. One of the main things that's happening this year is mitigation authority is getting passed down from the federal to the state and local. That's new. And also what's new, and we'll be sending out an email about this, I think tomorrow morning, is that there is a law that's being proposed. So there's the law in January that says state and local law enforcement now has authority, after they've gone through a pilot program and received training, that they can mitigate drones with reasonable force, basically. That's happened. Now there's a bill that was proposed by Senator Tom Cotton to say critical infrastructure operators will also have same authority. Nice. And that's new. That's just happening. The bill has just been proposed. We'll send out a kind of a blast email for everybody to see what's happening there. But it is changing finally after all of these years. Mitigation authority is going to more on the local level.
That's great news.
All right, we hit our time.
Yeah, looks like we have another question. We'll take real quick. What if they are a bad actor and don't have the identifying to the communication? Will it still track the operator location?
No, it won't. So one of the things that we've talked about, if they like disable it, like if they disable that functionality on the drone, then the remote drone ID won't pick it up. The radar still will. And that's where you kind of have different levels, you know, the kind of layered approach. The first level would be remote drone ID that works against these commercial off-the-shelf drones. If you've got someone more sophisticated that's disabling that, that's where you need to switch to radar. Now, with radar, you can track the drone, but you won't necessarily know where the operator is because the operator could be 10 kilometers away. They could be a long ways away. So you won't see where necessarily where the operator is. But one of the things we've been working with is other companies that do drones to have the drone chase the other drone back to where it came from. So
yep,
those are the type of things that are happening. All right. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for joining us today. If you've got further questions, don't hesitate to come reach out to Richard at Orion or any of his people. Of course, you can join with us on LinkedIn. We put up broadcasts on a very regular basis on about different things. There's a lot of new stuff happening right now, exciting stuff, and would love to get in conversation with you.
Absolutely. Yeah, please follow us on LinkedIn and reach out if you guys need help with a design or just have general questions about radar or new technology. Thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thank you, Richard.
Yes, sir.